Hello, everyone, and welcome to Three Coaches, One Topic. And tonight I am joined by Erika and Liz, and we are going to be discussing about inspiring loyalty and engagement in the workplace. But as always, before we set off, I will hand you over to Liz and Erika so they can tell you a little bit about themselves, where they're from, and what they do. So I will throw it over to you guys.
Well, I'll jump in, and thank you, Donna, for having me here. I'm super excited to be here. My name is Liz Cresci. My company is Legacy of Growth, and I am a strategic growth coach from the US, Northeast, actually, in Vermont. And I work with the chronic procrastinators and those who are unable to move forward either in their life or their small business, whether that's getting themselves started as a solopreneur or pushing through a plateau. So that's who I am, and that's what I do.
No, I love that. I love what you're doing, because when you're first starting out and you're starting up with your business, there are so many ideas going around. You're getting so much advice from different people, and you really can be in a world of pain.
Yeah, that's so true. It's very hard to do by yourself, without having, somebody to kind of walk through things with, and that's what I do.
Excellent. Thank you so much. And Erika.
Thank you. That's very true. Thank you. And thank you for inviting me. And that's very true what you said, because I needed a coach when I started. So my name is Erika Gardenal. I'm Italian, living in Barcelona, Spain. After living 10 years in UK, 1 year in China, decided to make Spain home. I'm an executive and a leadership coach, and I work with leaders from Fortune 100 companies to small, medium businesses, leaders who want to develop their leadership style and adapt their leadership style to this ever-changing world, so they can have a positive impact within their organization and possibly even outside of their organization.
Yeah, no, that's great. And what I've loved as well with you, Erika, we went through our ICF coaching program together, and seeing your confidence, and your stuff. And it is just a pleasure to have been going on this journey with you. So I know that you will have a huge impact and on people moving forward in organizations and in companies such as that. So thank you so much for joining me today. I really, really do appreciate it.
Thank you, Donna. And it was great also knowing you during the coaching training and being able to be coached by you. Amazing coach. I would recommend to anybody.
Agreed.
Thank you so much. Oh, thank you, guys. I mean, what's lovely is that we've all coached each other as well. So there's that safety and respect. So referring is easy, because we went through the pain points, but we also saw the growth with, each other. And I really appreciate that. Thank you so much. And I feel exactly the same. So before we start digging deeper into this topic, I'll just introduce myself very briefly. So I'm Donna Burfield, and I am a Joy and Purpose parenting coach. And Joy and Purpose coaching is all about building strong relationships with yourself, your partner, and your children, and creating a life where the ordinary is really extraordinary. And we seem to forget that. And again, what we do is we transform your parenting style and build stronger, healthy relationships with your family as a unit as well. So I'm extremely blessed because this is something that I feel very, very passionate about, and I just love doing. And I also run a coaching community here in Dubai called Coaches Supporting Coaches, which will be going international soon.
Wow, so exciting.
Yeah, so you guys, I need your help. In fact, let's have a coaching session right now. No. So I will be reaching out to both of you because of the expanding. You're not an island. There's so many resources and wonderful people out there. And again, I'm truly blessed to know you. So I will be tapping into your knowledge and your wisdom. along the way. Right, so let's move on. Inspiring loyalty and engagement in the workplace. What I would love to know from you two is what came up for you when, you know, it was put to you that we're going to be discussing this topic.
A lot came up on my side because this is basically what I talk about all day with my clients, because it all comes down to your loyalty and engagement, because they have this final aim for their teams, their organizations. So just came from a conversation with a coachee around, you know, this topic as well. So yeah, this is what came up for me.
Oh. I love that, because I'm coming from the other side of this conversation, where my experience, both with clients, personally, with friends and such, is on the employee side. And having myself worked for a major global company, the experience that there are certain ranks or certain levels or certain positions within that company and those companies that I've talked with others about, that seem to be overlooked, while there are others that are kind of swept up and completely engaged by management. And it's interesting for me to see it from kind of the back door of how people are reacting to the company, to the management, both in their feelings of loyalty and their engagement within the community. So I think that's an interesting, you know, front door, back door kind of thing.
And again, you make an interesting point. Well, both of you obviously do, but sometimes it's really hard to understand what the bosses are feeling, or, you know, how much effort they put in. There are some people who are going to go, they don't try, they don't do this, and we don't see it from their perspective. So, you know, the shoe on the other foot, so to speak. So I think it's really, really important. That's where that vulnerability and that, you know, discussion, this is what I'm trying to do. This is what I'm hearing. This is what I'm trying to provide. And if it's not working, it's not landing with you, I need that feedback.
Right. Agreed. You know, sorry, Eric, I didn't mean to jump in on top. A lot of the experience that I've had conversation around is with what I would consider to be the support community of these big businesses. And while they have the conversation with their line manager, with their, you know, with other members of management, it seems to kind of be an in one ear, out the other. And I think that a lot of the folks in the support community also don't feel that they're empowered to take this on and take their growth on themselves. I think a lot of people come in and they're like, well, what are you going to tell me? You know, where are you going to put me? How am I going to grow? And while it's important for the company and the management to be concerned in an aspect of that, it really does fall on the individual to advocate for themselves and to make it known what they do. They can't expect people to always be paying attention to them, right? That's just anybody. I don't care if you're the senior management people, not everybody's watching you at all times. So
absolutely. And also within that, there's a part of what fairness look like.
Yeah.
And what fairness looks like for me may not what it looks like for you. So a company is, you know, a bunch of people that came together, hopefully working for the same objective, but they all have different values, and these values are going to shape also what we think is fair and what we think is not fair. And there's another layer to that, which is fairness. Sometimes we think that is very black and white and very clear. But then when we are in a certain position, we are like, okay, what's best to do? Because if I do this, then this may happen. But if I do this, then these other things may happen. What's best? And it's not always an easy decision. And when you are not in management, somehow you have, because I also had it, I had this idea that, oh, this is easy, as in what's fair, what's not fair. But that was my point of view, because other people may have a completely different idea. And then when I moved to management, I was like, okay, so this is not as easy as it looked like before.
Agreed. I think, what comes up for me in this part of the conversation is that I think there's something universally lacking when an employee moves up the ranks and becomes management. And actually this relates to you, Donna, because I kind of view it as parents treating their children versus their employees, right? So, it's crazily customary now, at least here in the US, like you never discuss finances with your children. You never bring them into the fold and explain things. You just tell them no, or push their hand away from the hot stove, or because I said so is like a mantra now, which is ridiculous. But, or you have the other side, which is the parent who's explaining to their 10-month-old why they shouldn't stick their finger in a plug, right?
Yeah.
So it's the same with management I'm seeing in terms of the employees. Don't just shove your new policies down the throats of everybody underneath you. Bring them in, help them understand, make them your partner, and make them feel somewhat vested, because that, I think, to our topic, inspires loyalty and open those doors to engagement, because you're at the top, you may not see everything.
Yeah, exactly. And look, a couple of weeks ago I did a 3 Coaches 1 Topic on communities, and at the end of the day, your workplace is a community.
Mm-hmm.
Some people actually spend more time with their work colleagues than they do with their partners and their children. So, these are relationships that are really, really vital, because you take your, okay, people say don't take your work home and don't bring your home life into work. We're human.
Yeah, you can't separate that.
Exactly. Sometimes you can't. You got to put those strategies into place and consciously and intentionally say, no, I'm parking that. But, especially if you're passionate about your job. And I love what you're both saying, that it is about taking that ownership as well. And it's not all about what can you do for me to make me feel happy and for me to stay at your work. It's what can we do together? How can we grow? How can we inspire? How can we encourage? Because that's empowering.
Yeah.
People will bend over backwards for that. One question I want to throw out to you guys: is there a difference between being employed and being engaged?
Yes. 100%.
Yeah.
I mean, I think being employed is you're working for the paycheck. You show up, you do the bare minimum, you don't think about how you can show up. I mean, maybe you do, but in my, what comes into mind for me now is that the only thing that matters at the end of the day, the outcome, is the paycheck, right? And what it can do for you. To be engaged means that you take it a little bit more personally, and you want to show up the best you can, and you want to improve for the whole culture, for the customer, for your own sanity and your department, and you support each other in that.
Yeah, people now, they want to be engaged. They don't want to be employed. I mean, yeah, of course they want to have a job, but they want to be engaged. And the younger generations, even more so.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah, no, I agree. And I felt that in my previous career. There were some people that literally made it very well known that I was employed and waved that superiority and I hired you so I can fire you attitude, which didn't go down too well.
But that's just it, is when you start trying to like shove down somebody's throat what your agenda is, and not engage in conversation and engage in kind of an interaction, you're
Mm.
limiting your company, you're limiting your leadership, and you're limiting, the impact, because you don't know where that next great idea or the most supportive employee you've ever had is going to come from. People just want to feel valued.
Yeah.
And I think that's what inspires loyalty and engagement, is if you listen to me and you give me an opportunity to tell you what I'm seeing and feeling and experiencing, and opening that dialogue, that's all that it requires. It doesn't require a lot, in, just half an hour of your time
Yeah.
once a year. I don't know, just whatever that is.
Yeah. Yeah. What's come up for you there, Erika?
So people, yeah, they really want to be seen. I totally agree. At the same time, there's a lot going on within what they want within that, yeah, just want to be seen. They want to have clear communication about the things that are important to them,
Mm.
because I had experiences, and I can see or I can hear from my clients as well, that when companies, they get their surveys and they see that, okay, so employees want more communication. So what do? We just send out more emails and we do more meetings. But that's
Yeah.
it's like having a partner that is asking you, I want you to communicate more with me. And all you are telling them is, well, the moment you wake up, the moment you go to bed, what you do minute by minute. It's not really what you were looking for when you were asking for more communication. And then, of course, there's the topic of how each single individual feels appreciated and recognized. And introverts, they have a different experience than extroverts.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. And I just want to pick up on something before, and I would really want to go into introverts and extroverts. But before we go there, what I want to pick up on is how difficult it is for people in management now. And I think those that are, I don't want to say under the management, but they are, is a little bit of compassion and empathy for them as well, because especially if they've gone through the ranks and then all of a sudden they're head of the team, if they haven't had the proper training and they don't have the proper skills, they are taking on so much. There are so many laws now where those in management, and quite rightly, and I agree with it, but what I'm saying is we have to be compassionate as well. You've got your drugs and alcohol laws, you've got inclusion, diversity, you've got mental well-being, you've got it's so many things, whereas before a manager would walk in and manage the team. We are managing people. So whilst I think it's fantastic, I do also think there needs to be a bit of compassion and a little bit more ownership from us of having that communication with them, and saying, how can I support, how can I help, this is what I feel, this is how I feel valued. So yeah.
Yeah,
Agreed.
100%.
I think that comes down to the companies as well. I mean, everybody needs to feel supported, everybody needs to feel valued. And when they throw a manager in, I know in certainly in my own experience, working for a global company, they would oftentimes just because you reached a certain rank now made you a line manager. It did not train you.
Mm.
And there were cases where the line manager had absolutely no idea what their subordinates were doing. Like, that's a failing of the overall process.
Because a lot of the time people, they get promoted because they are very good at the technicalities of their job, and that's why they get promoted. But then the higher they go in the hierarchy, the more is about the people and less about the technical skills. And luckily, if they're lucky enough, they get the training, they get the coaching, they get mentored. But clearly, years and years ago, people were just thrown into the job.
Yeah.
And I
Yeah.
think that's the evolution that needs to happen, like we're seeing in schools too. We are now understanding that people come, as you talked a moment ago, Erika, about the introverts and extroverts. There is a big difference between how they show up, in their work world and in their personal, right? So understanding the different nuances and supporting people and getting them coaching, like you should as a leader, empower yourself. If your company's not going to give you the mentorship, then you need to find that out elsewhere. As an employee, you need to do the same thing, right? So I don't know.
And
Yeah.
what you just
Well,
said, yeah.
sorry. No, go ahead. Go ahead.
So this made me think about that what we really need as a community, as the entire world needs emotional intelligence, but that will start from the kindergarten, start with children. Because if we are only taught about literature, math, history, geography, and whatnot, but we don't know what to do with emotions, then it's a problem.
Yeah,
We
Well,
I
in
do.
agree.
fact, it happens before kindergarten. It has to start with the parents
100%.
because
Yes.
that's where they learn it.
Yeah.
And, so if we're not communicating with our partners and we're not communicating correctly with our children, and we've got all this baggage that and other people's values and beliefs that we've taken on, and we're trying to form our own family unit, it becomes very disjointed. So I think, from when you get pregnant and you start going to your classes and so forth, start then. How are you communicating? What have you got set up? What are your have you had these difficult conversations with your partner? What, when the in-laws come, who's going to look after the baby? Am I going back to work? All these things. And how do we deal with arguments when we're tired? What are non-negotiable ways that we're going to talk to each other? What do we do when we need space? So all these things will then carry on with the child, and it will carry on and transfer into your workplace and other relationships. So I think we need to go back and, you know, not put that pressure on the children that they have to learn it. They're going to absorb it.
I want to say that I totally agree with you on that, but I believe the challenge here, and I think we're starting as certainly here in the U.S., but from what I can see around the world, is we're starting to understand that there are differences out there, and we're
Mhm.
starting to champion some of those differences. And hopefully that will evolve down into the individual. But many, I know my parents' generation, and certainly I started this way with my own family and my own approach to being an employee and a business owner, is the way my parents did it. Right. And it's
Yeah,
unlearning and being
yeah.
willing and vulnerable enough to say, oh, wait a minute. Maybe I need to look inward. Maybe I need to understand more about myself and more about other people's experiences in order to show up the best for them. And it's not easy as a business owner or management, um, or a parent for that matter, to go that extra step and kind of dive into the deeper level versus, just do it because I need this done,
And when
and not
they're a
engage them.
leader, sorry, but what you're saying is correct. And also, when you get to that level, there is a part where you want your boss to be vulnerable. But people are saying you should be telling us more about this, that, and the other in your feelings. And I didn't know what was going on in your person. No, they shouldn't.
No.
It is about looking up as well. You want to learn, you want to be inspired. And it's for them to have their network of people that they can talk to. So, you don't moan downwards, you moan upwards or, parallel. So they need to have those structures in place as well. So it's all very well saying you've got to be more presentable to us or more sociable, but there has to be a line that's drawn when you are in management.
There is a balance between vulnerability and, being there for your team.
Mm-hmm.
I think we're seeing a lot of this now. I don't know why this popped into my head when you were speaking, Donna, but the way that colleges now are approaching their applicants has gone more into a holistic view, right? They want to understand the person in front of them. And I think that needs to be brought into the workplace as well. Know your employees, understand the person standing in front of you. I don't care if they are the mail clerk or the person that empties the trash cans and cleans the bathrooms, or they're the president of the company. If you don't understand that person enough to know, are they somebody that gets, we talked before about how to show them accolades, right? Maybe that person would rather just have a quiet conversation or an email that says, you know what, Bill, you did an amazing job and I'm super proud of you. And then you might have Susie who's like, who wants a party, right? You just need, there's so many different nuances, and I don't I don't mean to make it more work and less focus on the business, because that's not what it's about. But a line manager should understand the people, or a manager should understand the people on their team and know how to speak their language to get the best out of them and to make them feel valued and supported. And I think just that would explode the way companies are and how they show up and ultimately win.
So how would you, let's talk about introverts and extroverts. How do you want to be recognized, first of all, and acknowledged at work when you've done something? Because some people turn around and say, no, I don't want that. But there is a way to make you feel heard and seen.
So for me, I'm a more of a quiet person. If you pulled me aside or sent me an email and just said, hey, Liz, you know what? You did an amazing job on that project, and I really want to thank you. And here's the one or two things that really stood out to me. Or if they said, this was great, but here's the one or two things that, I think you could have taken further or done better. Like, I'm open to feedback either way, but I want to know specifics. If you tell me that you're happy with my work or you're proud of me, I'm like, great. Okay, thanks. But I don't like to be called out. I was the kid that wanted to fade into the back wall in their classroom. I never sat in the front until I was well above college age. I just didn't want to be noticed. So I get uncomfortable, which would lead me then not to maybe give it my all, because I'm more afraid of being put on the spot with my peers or with other people. Don't put me in the newsletter, because you won't get the best out of me. Talk to me quietly and you will.
Interesting, because I'm I define myself as a loud introvert.
I'm with you.
Because I'm an introvert. I like my time on my own, alone. But as you can tell, I'm very loud, and people always think like, no, when I say I'm an introvert, no, you're not, you're an extrovert. It is so clear. I know I need my time alone. But when it comes to appreciation, I don't mind if people want to shout it out from the top of the mountain. It's just not me that I'm gonna attract the attention. I'm not gonna go there and say, oh, look at me. No, I'm not gonna do that. But I would appreciate if it happens. Like I appreciate also if it's a one-on-one thing and you say to me quietly.
Interesting.
Yeah, I'm with you on that one. I don't like, if you ask me to get up on stage, no, I feel sick even just thinking about it. Do not like that. I don't like, on the whole, I don't like crowds. So being put into a center of attention with a crowd, no. If it's 2 or 3 people, usually they're people I know anyway, and I'm feeling comfortable, and you will get the best out of me. But like you, Liz, I personally appreciate that either it's a one-to-one or an email to say that. And that's something that you can refer back to as well on your days that you are losing your self-confidence and your self-worth, and that email, you can go back and go, you know what, I can do this. And there's that
And I think
appreciation.
that's super important. I mean,
Yeah.
I believe in the brag folder, if you will, right? So for me to have it in an email, I can do that, and I do that. I print them out, I put them in a folder, and and it comes from all over, not just from whatever company I was working with, but it gives me that boost when I'm feeling down. I will pull it out and remind myself that I do have value, right? And I it's interesting because I never really thought about myself either way as an introvert or extrovert. But I think I'm more introverted, unless I know you, and then I can be loud. But I don't like it. Makes me super uncomfortable for people to give me any kind of accolade. So I prefer it on the QT.
You do. It's funny though, because again, you've just sparked a memory for me. So whilst I love that one-to-one, and it's personal, another thing that bosses need to be aware of, and I had this at school. My Senkos, my line managers, would call me into their office, and the only time they called me into their office was to give me crap.
Mm-hmm.
You're not doing this and you're not doing that, or we need to, and and I take it on the chin and go, yeah, you're right, that happened, and I apologize. But they never pulled me aside to say, Donna, can you just come into the office? How are you doing? Just want to touch base. Haven't spoken to you. We've been really busy. So for somebody who likes that as a validation, I then became fearful of one-to-ones or intimate settings, because I'm thinking, crap, what have I done now? And, I could feel the sweat trickling down my back, and I'm thinking, what have I done? I haven't said anything. I'm racking my brain. So I think that's another thing that people need to be aware of as well.
Huge. And I'm so glad you brought that up. Having been under the thumb of a terrible manager who, anytime he called me into his office and shut the door, I knew I was in big trouble. And every day I thought I was going to be fired. But that's part of the value, like feeling valued and feeling like you matter. Like, to me, just feeling like I matter that's everything to me. And it doesn't mean that you need to, give me a new parking spot right up front every month as, employee of the month. Like, that's not what I'm talking about. It's about both of that. If you're going to critique me on something that I need to do better, you also have to tell me what I'm doing well. Don't assume that because I haven't heard from you that everything's fine. Like, I'm going to know everything's fine. We're not mind readers. And managers need to understand that they're dealing with people. How would they feel if all they ever got from their superiors was, come in, shut the door, and you did this, you did that, and you did the other thing? It doesn't feel good. It doesn't make you want to go above and beyond. It makes you want to be in a job versus, be engaged in and feel very attached to the company. And I don't care if you're written up as the top 100 best companies for working parents or whatever. If you don't understand that they need some feedback, positively as well, then you're not gonna get the value that you want out of your employees.
Yeah, that makes me think of the fact that what I've experienced for myself also, I had good managers, I had bad managers. And as a manager, the moment and this also ties with the job as a coach, when you really believe that the person in front of you can do it, you get the best out of that person. And
100%.
whoever has believed in me got the best out of me. Whoever started off with, no, you can't, I couldn't. I just couldn't. And I can see the difference with my coaches, my clients with their teams. When they change that mentality, they start unlocking people potentials, and people really feel appreciated, and then they want to go to work.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, just taking that moment to ask yourself as a manager, what value is this person bringing to my team versus what are they doing wrong, right? If you could start every conversation in your head about your team members of what value, how valuable are they, or in what ways are they valuable, you're going to approach that conversation way different.
Yeah.
And it's
Yeah.
hard. It's hard because if you're responsible for the outcome of the team and things are, hitting the fan and not going your way, it's easy to pick up and yell or, point out what's not happening versus start the conversation with everything has some gift or opportunity in it, right? So everything has a positive intent. Nobody wakes up and says, I'm going to go to work today and screw everything up and make it worse for my manager. Nobody does that. So don't take that approach with your employees.
Yeah. Yeah. Or another thing I don't like is when bosses, this has happened to me, um, when at school we'd have the staff meetings, and then all of a sudden your line manager has stood up and gone, I would just like to thank the team for making our department look good. I have invested a lot of time and training with them, and they've come up and done me proud. I literally stood there with my my face is very expressive, so my face was like bullshit. This person hadn't trained us and was basically telling the audience that look how wonderful I am and what a good leader. And seriously, the rest of the LSAs, we were looking at each other going, no, we haven't done that. So I think, that's where it's very important. If that is your line manager and that's you, that you have somebody that you can talk to independently, like a coach, that may not be part of the company, where you can talk to them and get some clarity of what to do and maybe who else you can approach, maybe further up the line, but doing it diplomatically, ethically.
I think that's what made me think of was there is no I in team, right? And I think that that's what,
Mm-hmm.
managers need to understand, that it's not about them, it's about the whole. But on the other hand, when you have bigger companies or smaller companies too, the human resources department should, and I hate that word, but it would be nice if they would incorporate more coaching and not, if you go to HR, certainly here in my experience, it's a taboo thing, right? But it shouldn't be. It should be encouraged that we
Yeah,
can support you in your leadership. We can support you as an employee to show up in the best way possible. And if you don't feel that it's happening, they should be able to give you guidance through whatever means, training, coaching, as to how to hand it. All starts with us and how we show up. We
yeah,
cannot expect that anybody else is going to fix it for us,
yeah.
but it's also, we're a team. Every day, we're all working towards the same goal, what's best for our clients or customers. So
Absolutely. The role of HR is key. And from what I can see, a lot of people, they treat those conversations when there are issues and would like to bring them up to HR. They feel like is whatever you're going to say is going to be used against you, sort of thing.
100%.
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah, which is why sometimes it's great that they have those skills, the coaching skills. HR, you know, gets exposed to that, but also maybe having somebody independent so people do feel like they're in a safe space and this isn't going to come up and, you know, there aren't going to be repercussions with you being honest and vulnerable. So yeah. Um, So what I would love to know is what tips can you give people that can help with this feeling more inspired from themselves taking actions? And then let's discuss us, and then we'll go back and say some tips for those in management, how they can inspire as well.
So for the individual, I would say
Yeah.
you, first of all, you really need to know what you really, really want, not what society wants you to want.
Agreed.
That is the first thing. And for a lot of people, that's a struggle.
Agreed. And I believe that knowing yourself is super important. What are your values? What do you value the most? Like when you show up in your role as a human being, not just as an employee or as a parent or as a friend or a partner, what is it that drives you? Because when you can understand those values within yourself, you'll know better how to articulate to your manager, to your partner, to your kids, to the world, how best to reach you. Because we all come to this life and think that everybody's like us, and that's not true. There's as many people on this world is as many different ways that people are respond to things. So understanding that, um, I don't know, freedom and uh, adventure and learning and growth is important to me, then I'm going to know how to say to you, Erica, geez, if you just give me, help me find ways to grow within this company that are going to allow me some autonomy and
Yeah.
to feel like, you value what I'm bringing, then that's going to make me even more valuable as an employee. So if I can have that conversation because I understand myself enough, that's for me the place to start as an individual, and understanding that it all starts with us. You cannot change on anybody else. You can only change you.
Yeah, and again, it is about looking at. Sometimes people go to work, they like that structure, but at home they want that freedom, that I don't want a schedule and things like that. So understanding yourself, what are you like at work? What do you want from a workplace? And what do you want from a home place? And be clear that you're not taking, if they are different, into the different zones. And I think one of the other things that is really good to think about is when you're unhappy, is it a work? Is it to do with yourself? Is it your home life? Rather than saying, it's my job, nobody understands me, dig that little bit deeper. And also maybe do a little bit of reframing of when you're talking about your job, instead of I have to, what is it allowing you and what do you get to do? So also your job doesn't have to be your final destination. It could be a touch and go. This could be, a weekend stay in relative life. But so for now, what am I getting? How can I show up? And when I do leave this, where am I going to go? And how can I be grateful for that time that it's allowed me to now go to where I want to be?
Yeah, it's understanding the outcome, I really do believe, in whatever it is that you're undertaking, right? Why are you here? Why, are you here just for the paycheck? Okay, great. But what does that afford you? What is it that you want that paycheck for? Like understanding what that's about, because if your focus is not within the role that you're in now and growing within that company, if it's allowing you to do something, then you're growing outside of that company. That's fine, but just understand what that is. And my tip to people in that moment is write this stuff down, get it out of here and onto paper, because there's some weird emotional like tumbler in our heads, and once we get it out on paper, it seems to lose some of that emotion, and you can look at it more objectively and you can see it for maybe what it is without the legs that it grows in your mind. and you can tackle it one at a time and say, is this, you know, everything's about choice.
Yeah. And the language you use when you're writing it down, really do that brain dump. But look at the language that you're using. Where's the pattern? You know, is the words you're using quite aggressive? Is there anger behind that? Where's the anger coming from? Where is it directed and why is it directed? So, yeah. Erika, you look like you were ready to jump in there.
Yeah, no, I mean, I was saying, I was thinking that it's a constant conversation that we need to have with ourselves.
Yeah.
And people that are very introspective, of course, that's dialogue. That dialogue is going on 24 hours a day, 7 days a week.
Yeah.
But I would encourage really everybody to look inside and what they want and carry on questioning things. Because in my previous job, at the beginning, I loved it. I loved the company, I loved everything. But then I've grown out of that role and that company, and I wanted to do something else for myself. And that's where coaching uh, started being a thing for me. So because I was in love with that company and role at the beginning doesn't mean I have to be until the end of my life. Things can change because we keep on evolving.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so what tips would you give to managers, you know, for promoting growth and learning, and so that will inspire and keep, you know, the employees engaged?
I would say open up that conversation with the team to understand what they want. Give them the time also to reflect on what they want, because some people, like we said, for instance, introverts, they may need time to reflect. Extrovert, they may just know it and be able to say it on the spot. So giving the time for people to reflect and really think, and then come together and brainstorm, understand each other. Really, I think the very first step is really getting to know each other, what every single person values are, and what as a team, what are your values as a team. How do you want to work together and build that together? Because a lot of leaders, I think, because I'm the leader, I have to build the vision, the values, and everything. But then they don't really create the buy-in for the team.
Yeah.
While if they involve them in the entire process, then they become accountable.
I think that's huge. And I love that you just said all of that, because, you know, I, as an employee, when a manager would call me in, I'll just take myself as an example. If they said to me, you know, what is it that you want out of this? I would not necessarily open right up to them, but starting with a conversation about, you know, you've been here for a while. I'd really interested to know, what are you seeing that's working really well, and honestly, what are you seeing that could be improved, or perhaps is there something that we're not doing that we should be doing? Start me with a conversation around, you know, what I know well within this company, and that's telling me that you really do want to hear from me and you care about my experience and what I know. Then that can evolve into more with me understanding, you know, hey, you know, what are your long-term goals? Because if I jumped in and said, you know, my goal is to be in another department, then I'm going to be afraid that you're going to take that out on me, and that I'm suddenly not going to get the projects, or I'm not going to get, you know, I'll be afraid every day that I'm going to end up, you know, being let go or something, right? So start me personally with, how can I bring value and what am I seeing, and then work me into the personal conversation. If it's something that, say, I've been here for a few years and now you want to change your leadership style, if it's from day one, that's different, because that's how I'm getting to know you. But I think ultimately, employees want to feel heard, they want to feel valued, and they want to feel like they matter. And how do you do that? Engage them in conversation, find out what's, to your point, what's important to them. But what's important to them in the context of the company and what they're seeing and how they think they could improve, as well as on the personal side.
what I'm taking away from this is the fact I think it's really important as well. Now, some places have really high turnovers. I mean, it's like flipping.
There's always a reason.
Exactly. So this is a good place to start. Why? And there are other people that will stay, whilst there are many that will leave. So, as you said, Liz, ask them, but also be mindful that some people that do stay may be fearful and may not have that confidence to look outside. It's better the devil you know. I'm staying. If I know that person's going to be fed up, I know what to expect. I'm in my comfort zone. Even though I don't like it, I'm in my comfort zone. So going somewhere better is going to be uncomfortable for me.
Yeah.
So even those that have been there for a while may not have all the answers. So having that collaboration between your team of building those policies and procedures and how to move forward that vision and that mission of your company is great. But every time you get a new staff member, bring them in.
Yeah.
You know, have that conversation with them as well and make them feel part of the team rather than saying, you're new, we set this up, we've all agreed, we've had that bonding and that collaboration. Draw them in.
I just want to jump in real quick with this. I literally had this conversation yesterday with a friend who's she's a teacher, and we were talking about the teacher union in her school, and she just was so like incredulous that the mantra with this teachers union is that's the way it's always been done. No, we can't turn the heat on a day early because that's, nobody would step up and ask because that's the way it was always done. So that's what's coming up for me is you have to get out of the baloney of, well, but it's always been this way. If that was the case, we'd all still be sitting around fires and running around in animal loincloths because you need to evolve, right? You need to, everything is constant. If you're not growing, you're dying. So as a company, you need to be growing. And we're seeing that now with the failures of banks and the failures of companies like, Kodak. If they had just, shifted, or Pitney Bowes, if they had just shifted, and looked at things instead of that's the way it's always been done, they would probably still be here. So as a manager, as a company, as an employee, if you're not looking for ways to improve and bring in, and I just want to make it really clear, all levels of employee, it's, don't leave the assistants out. Don't leave the mailroom people out.
Yeah. Well, exactly. They are. When you're looking at a business, whoever is in your employment, even if it's somebody that is in the parking lot checking the cars or what have you, if you are employing them, they are part of the community, and we all have a role to play, and we are all there to grow, and we're there to provide for ourselves and our families, and nobody wants to feel that disjointed, unworthy in a workplace. 100%. We all want to belong.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so just before we go, is there any passing things that you would like to share, or anything for you, or shout outs for managers or people that that have really inspired you and kept you engaged and has kind of helped you on your journey?
To be honest, I have someone in mind that you know very well, Donna.
Let me guess. Go on, mention her.
Oh, that is Franda, absolutely our trainer and mentor. I don't know what I would have done without her. She is really someone that truly believed in me 100%, even when I wasn't believing in myself. And that was a total game changer for me.
Phenomenal woman, phenomenal coach.
Franda.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree 100%. She, great coach, great trainer, lovely, lovely, lovely person. She's, yeah, force to be reckoned with. And she does believe in you, and she does push you that little bit further. So, yeah, well done, Randa. Good choice, Erica. And Liz, what about you, my darling?
Um, there's been a few, throughout life that not necessarily somebody that I've worked directly under, in terms of an employment standpoint. I know, you spoke of Fronda. I've spoken with her once, and she is a lovely woman. I didn't get a chance to know her the way you do. Um, but for me, if I'm looking at my coaching experience, hands down, it was Medina from
Mm,
the Jay Shetty program. She was all encompassing and really just, again, probably similar to to Fronda, really made us into the coaches that we are at every turn. But I would say, in terms of like workplace inspirations, I look outside the box. Like, I just think Richard Branson is an amazing human being, and I love the way he comes. I've never worked for him, but the way he wants to bring value, and he wants to look in crazy places, and he just seems like, if I could work for anybody, I think I'd want to work for him. So
he definitely thinks outside the box.
I love it.
Yeah,
No, I'm not
yeah.
jumping out of any balloons anytime soon, but yeah, you know.
I think he would scare me. I like his mind, but
Mhm.
yeah. If you're an introvert and he would get you doing those things,
Mm,
yeah. So I think I'd be on Xanax or something.
I love it.
What's he gonna make me do now? But I do love his creativity, and I agree. I have to agree with both of you. So Medina Akhmedova, she is formidable as well. Loved her to bits. She really, really pushed me, I think, the most, and she made me feel safe to voice
Yes.
my concerns. Because a few times there was a few things that came up during the Jay Shetty thing, wasn't that Liz? That we were just like, oh, don't feel comfortable. And but she always gave us that place to voice it.
Yeah.
So a lot of respect to her for there, and the same with Franda. With regards to work, I would definitely say um, there was one lady called Emma West. She's a principal now back in the UK. Loved her to death. She was a geography teacher, and she was the assistant deputy head at the school. And she just kept on saying, Donna, you know, I was dying there. You've got so much to offer. You've got so much. You can do this. You can do this. And she brought me out of my box. And yeah, I mean, we were even doing sort of like all the single ladies and singing in the classroom. Oh, we had a ball. And that's what she taught me, is that about being a manager, you can still have fun. You can still be personable. It was very clear where the boundaries were with her, and I loved it. She is an awesome human being. So thank you, Emma West, for being you. I really, really appreciate it. Okay, so sorry, what did you want to say?
I just was going to say, I think I'd like to invite everybody out there, anywhere, to look for those inspirations, because I think we just kind of go through life and with our heads down, and we don't notice it until it's too late. Who is that inspiration, and why for you?
Yeah, and say thank you to our line
Mhm.
managers and
Yeah.
managers, and don't be. It's not sucking up. They deserve to be acknowledged when they're doing things well, and they're good. They're struggling. So just be kind and be appreciative.
Yeah.
So, right, on that note, we're going to sign off. I would like to thank you both so very much for being here today. And I think we've given quite a few tips and shared our past experiences. So, I know we will be seeing each other again very shortly. And on that note, I would just like to wish everybody take care, guys.
Thank you. Take care.
Bye
Bye.
bye.